Welcome back to another video where today we're going to be doing an integrated dash cam installed by Mangoal on this 22 Toyota Tundra. So for today I'm going to be walking you through how to do the install and setup for this Mangoal dash cam. So let's open this up and we're going to take a look and see what comes inside of this kit. So we've got ourselves a set of instructions here. Comes with a pry tool, the harness connection that we need, the GPS, the rear dash cam. So this is a front and rear dash cam setup. And then the front dash cam with the body harness here. So let's jump inside and we're going to start disassembling the truck. So now that we're back in the truck, the first thing we need to do is we have to get all this trim here off of the mirror. So the center connection is going to come off and then we're going to take the body off here. So we're just going to pry lightly up on this center connection here. Try to separate these two and we're going to pull that first piece off. And now the second piece should be able to push downwards away from the mirror. Just like that. So now that we have all the covers off, we need to disconnect this harness here. So there's a little push-up tab here in the middle. So as you push up, you can wiggle the harness side to side and you'll be able to pop it out. And then next we're going to grab the supplied splitter from Mangoal. So you'll just have to make sure you give yourself a little bit of slack before you start that so you can push the harness here to the right hand side so you can get both harnesses connected. We're just going to let this other end here dangle for now. So we now have the new connection here with the camera built in, and there's 3 wires you have here. You're going to have the first one for your GPS, the second one is going to be your power plug, and your third is the rear camera. So we're just going to pop off that center clip like we did on the original one just to get it out of our way, and then we're going to get all this organized. So the next thing we need to do is we have to get this handle here off. So we are using the supplied body trim tool that Mangoal gives you with your kit. So when we pop off these 2 connectors here, there is just a 10 mil that we need to take off. So with these 2 10 mils off, we can now pull off this A-pillar here. So it just slides in under the dash, and then there is a couple connectors that clip into the panel here. So we're in the rear of the vehicle now, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to get this handle ready to come off. So we're going to grip this piece, pull that one forward, and we're going to do the same with the top one up here. So we've got 2 10 mil bolts here like we had on the front that we're going to take off. So we've got our second handle off here, and the next thing we're going to do is just pop the top of the panel here, and then we're going to pull down the weather stripping so we can get the roof line exposed a bit. So the next thing we're going to do is just pull down some of the weather stripping here. So we're just going to do a portion of it. I'm not going to take the whole thing off, so we're going to do the front here so we can expose the headliner, and then we're going to do the same on the back door. So same thing, we're just going to pop down a bit of this here so we can pull down the headliner and tuck our wires in. So now that we've got all the headliner pulled, disconnected, and ready to start installing stuff, we're going to start routing everything. So we've got our rear view camera and we've got the GPS. So we're going to get these connected, and then we're going to get the GPS placed first. We'll get the line routed to where we need it, and then we're going to get the rear camera placed, and then we'll connect the power last as we go to mount the panel back up onto the windshield. So we're going to start with the GPS. So we're going to get this plugged in. So there are little tabs here, and you can just spin the GPS connections here freely until they line up, and then they will push fully in here. So we've got the GPS set up here, and we're going to give ourselves just a little bit of slack, and we're going to start tucking the wire above the headliner here. And we're going to leave the GPS down in the left side dash corner for now. It does have a 3M tape, but for now we're just going to get it placed and we'll tape it down later on. So we're just going to get it routed down with all these cords as well, and then we're going to tuck off the excess so it's out of our way. So we're going to make sure we leave ourselves a decent amount of slack also to be able to pull this out or move it wherever we want. So next, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to plug in the camera, and then we're going to get it routed. To make it a little bit easier, once I get a rough idea of the slack, I'm going to disconnect the camera and the GPS line again, and then get my trim up, reconnect them, and then that gives me the option to reduce all the slack that I have left over. So what I've done is I just pre-laid the camera line out because it's quite long. So I gave myself enough slack where I can start feeding part of it into the headliner now, because we're going to want to hide the majority of the leftover in the rear of the vehicle. There won't be enough room inside the housing here to hide all the excess. So I have a decent amount of slack right now, and I'm going to start feeding some of it into my headliner here in the corner, and then we're going to feed back around here and get this all tucked in up here out of sight. So that's pretty good so far. I may just need a little bit more slack, and we're going to start moving kind of backwards now and run this through the remainder of the headliner up top. So I actually just removed this whole panel here. Having it popped out, I couldn't feed the line through, and I was worried about pinching it. So now I can actually feed my power cord behind the entire trim here. And the way that this comes out is the black panel on the bottom just pops forward, and there's two pop pins. So you pull the center out, and then you could pop this whole clip out, and that's what mounts this all back in place. So once we're done running these lines, we can get this connected, put these two pieces back in, and then get the trim put back in together. It's a little bit easier than trying to fight around the two clips here for it. So I've now got the wire here tucked in the headliner, and this is a little bit easier because it's actually tucked in front of the clips instead of going behind the clips, which is going to stop this from ever getting caught and pinching and breaking that line with it being tucked away. So for the extra few minutes it is just to pop this whole panel off here. It's going to save you time in the long run if that wire ever gets pinched and break. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work back up in the front. We're going to get the camera lines all connected and the dash cam installed, and then we're going to go to the rear of the vehicle and we're going to finish running the line for the back camera. So I've got all my slack here now for the GPS and the backup camera, so I'm going to try to reduce it a little bit, and we're going to get this panel remounted here. So I'm going to pull some of this back out so I don't have as much slack anymore, and I'm doing this portion first before I finish running all my line, because if I need to hide slack, it's going to be easier to hide the rear camera slack in the back of the vehicle and hide the GPS slack right now in the A-pillar before we move forward. So we've got everything now secured. So what I did is I slowly worked and pulled all my slack out. So now I have no slack in this headliner here. I'm going to be able to hide all the GPS slack down in this pillar and all the backup camera slack in the rear of the vehicle. So now we're going to finish running all the rest of the line. So I wanted to do that in this order before I ran everything in the back so I could continuously pull the slack out. So now I have nothing, and this is nice and clean. There's no bulking here in the headliner at all. So now that we are at the back portion of the vehicle, we're just going to pull lightly down on here, and we can get this one disconnected, and we're able to route the line again above the headliner here and above all the clips. So I'm going to route that backwards, and we'll be able to tuck this up in the corner of the headliner as well and run that. But what we're going to do is I'm going to run this. We're going to start getting all the excess slack because, as you can see, there is a ton of leftover camera line here that we're going to need to hide. And we're going to actually try to hide majority of it in this pillar here. So we've got the wire now run underneath the headliner. All the extra slack we've tied together and tucked it down around here, which is not obstructing the panel. It loops back around, and we've got the larger power connection here. We can't get that under the headliner because it's a bit too big, and I don't want to force off this hard rubber seal here. But I've got the camera running this direction, and it's tucked into the liner of the vehicle right now. So we're ready to go back to the front and start reassembling all the trim up on the front end, and then we're going to get the camera tested. So we're now ready to put the front trim piece back on, and what I've done is run the GPS actually underneath the front of the speaker here. So that's going to keep that line out of the way, so we're not going to get caught or pinched on any of the body trim here. So one of the last pieces on the front that we now need to install is just this front supplied trim here, which goes into the middle, which wraps around the rear view mirror. So that should just clip in like this. So the last thing we need to do on the rear is get this handle back reinstalled. So we're just going to use our 10 millimeters again. So like I said, on the right hand side here is where the memory card is going to go. So we're just going to stick that in. It comes with a supplied 128. You can always use something bigger. This is just going to store this on the memory card there for you. But we're going to set up the app now where you're actually going to be able to live view all of your footage. So we're in the App Store now, and we're going to be looking for the SkyCam app. So we're just going to get this downloaded, and then I'm going to show you how to set this up. So we're going to go into the Wi-Fi setting here. We're going to join. So it's going to be 1 to 8 should be the Wi-Fi password for this. So that is our rear view camera right now, and we're going to look to see if... So we've got the camera now here set up, and what it actually was I never pulled off the black plastic cover on the lens, so that's why we were getting no picture there. I thought that was my rear camera, but it's my front, so you can see how clear that camera is here. And it's recording. I think this is going to run in a 60-second loop, so it's going to constantly re-record new clips every 60 seconds. And it's going to store those clips, so if you ever need to pull a file, you'll find that 60-second clip and you'll know like how far you need to go forward on it. So we've got our front here. We're just going to drop this down so we can get a full quality, and you can see the 4K quality on this. We're going to hit this little square button here and it will rotate us to the back, and same thing, you can see how clear that picture is. So again, the app is going to let you live view or save your recordings, but you do have the memory card, so if you ever need to pull hard files, you can just take the memory card out of the camera to get that camera file. So we're going to take a look at some live footage. So this bottom button here, we're going to hit this and it'll bring up a list of clips. So let's take a look and find one. So we have our list of clips here that we just recorded. So we're going to hit this one and we'll rotate over, and we're going to watch a road test we just did with the vehicle. And we could see even on the road test how clear this 4K camera is here. So this has been a quick install and review on the Mangoal 4K front and rear camera for the 22 Toyota Tundra. I'm going to put a link in my description of where you can pick this up, but if you have any questions, leave me a comment, like. Thanks for watching.